In this tutorial, we'll learn how to explore GL account activity using Fusion ERP's Configurable Account Analysis, or CAA, in Oracle Fusion Data Intelligence, or FDI. Functional administrators can use Configurable Account Analysis to add detailed subledger data to the general ledger by selecting enrichment attributes from relevant journal sources. With the quarter close approaching, I want to define a workbook to analyze variations in the general ledger accounts across periods and journal sources. I'll begin in a workbook with the CAA subject area that has already been created and shared by a functional administrator for Fusion ERP Analytics. I have added these workbook filters as the initial scope to limit the historical data. In the filters, I have selected the fiscal year and the U.S. primary ledger. Now I will set the dashboard filters. For fiscal quarters, I will select the last two quarters, Q3 and Q4. Next, I have my journal source. I want to include all the journal sources from the general ledger, so I will leave this as all. I also want to include all the natural accounts from the general ledger segments. In this case, I will leave the natural account description filter as all. Now that my filters are set, I'll create a visualization to analyze the volume of the account activity by journal source. In the data pane, I'll expand Fax Account Analysis LC, or ledger currency. That's the primary currency of the ledger I'm interested in. In the journal amount LC are the journal entries that have been processed by the subledger accounting or the general ledger. For this analysis, using either the debit or credit amount will yield the same total. I'll right-click this journal debit amount accounted and select Pick Visualization. I'll choose a bar chart. I'll move and resize this visualization to have more room to work. I'll find and double-click Fiscal Quarters to add this to the category. I immediately see a large increase in numbers for Q4 compared to Q3. I need to analyze by the journal source to understand this distribution of the volume. I'll expand the general ledger, journals, journal details, then double-click on the journal source. To make this clearer, I'll drag fiscal quarter from category to trellis columns. Then I'll sort the journal debit amount from high to low. I notice that the spreadsheet source accounts for most of the transactions. I'll investigate this later. To rename this visualization, I'll click Properties. Then, for the title, I'll click Auto, then Custom. I'll type Journal Distribution by Source, and to change the title font, click Auto to select Bold. Next, I want to examine both the volume and nature of currency activity across all GL sources. The simplest way to do that is to duplicate this visualization. I'll right-click and select Edit, then Duplicate Visualization. I'll find and expand Currency. Then I'll click and drag Document Currency, which is the currency a transaction is originally recorded or posted in, to replace Journal Source in color. Next, I'll change the chart type to make it a donut chart. I can clearly see that in Q3, nearly 100% of our transactions are in US dollars, with a small percentage in foreign currencies. This visual can provide valuable insights into foreign currency exposure or risk based on the transaction categories. I'll rename this visualization Journal Distribution by Entered Currency. Next, I want to explore the GL account activity from various subledger sources in a single view. So I'll create a pivot table. I'll multi-select Fiscal Quarter, Journal Source, Journal Category, and both Journal Debit Amount and Journal Credit Amount. I'll right-click to select Pick Visualization. Then I'll choose Pivot Table. I'll click and drag Fiscal Quarter to replace the journal source in columns. Here are the journal details I want to analyze. The journal source indicates the origin of a transaction. For example, transactions from fixed assets appear with a journal source assets. Transactions entered manually use the manual journal source, and transactions from payables use the payables journal source. It is important to note that this CAA subject area was set up to include more than GL summary data and subledger details like payables and receivables. It also incorporates data from all linked journal sources, such as projects, cost, and receipt accounting, as shown in this visualization. This includes the related transaction details, making the information more complete. The journal category provides the context of the type of transaction event. For example, I see purchase invoices in accounts payable. Since the spreadsheet is a significant contributor to journal source, I want to explore the adjustments further. I'll right-click Spreadsheet and click Keep Selected. Now I'll expand GL segments, then Natural Account. I want to add financial category name to rows below journal category. I can see that these adjustments come from a variety of transaction events in the subledgers and journals. I can analyze this further to identify if expenses show a high number of adjustments or if revenue adjustments are significant. And if I need to, I can export this information as a file to the Fusion ERP subledger owner for specific analysis. My workbook now enables me to analyze the GL account activity volume, foreign currency exposure by transaction category, and consolidated subledger activity view. Find additional videos and more resources on using Fusion Data Intelligence in the links below.